more exam problems that I thought I would show you and talk out here for your consideration. Most important thing is to understand the method and to learn from the score you got. When I talked to a couple students, they said, yeah, I just went too fast. I didn't think about that enough. I missed a little point. That's absolutely one of the biggest causes for error, so do keep that in mind in the future. Some of it was clearly, just didn't understand well enough how to determine whether an argument was inductive or deductive or strong versus weak. Some of it was definitely about not understanding the difference between the premises being true or false and the reasoning being correct or incorrect. All right, let's get to it here. This one, the first one here, says only 2% of all convicted murderers are sentenced to die. That means errors are extremely unlikely. This is why capital punishment should be continued. Now, this one was not assess the reasoning. The question was whether or not this was inductive or deductive and what the conclusion is. Start with the first thing, sort of conceptually. This is why tells us that we have a conclusion coming. This is referring to what was said before, which are the reasons or the premises, and what follows is the conclusion. Capital punishment should be continued. That's the conclusion there. Now, if you look on the sides, one of the things, we don't have anything said here about likely or certainly. Likely and words and ideas like that point to induction very clearly. Although it does say that errors are extremely unlikely. This isn't induction, so I suppose that fits, but it's not exactly where it's not said that the conclusion is likely to be true, and that's really the characteristic of inductive argument. Now, this one, to decide whether it's inductive or deductive, and a lot of people got this wrong, and it was a hard problem, and it was meant to be a hard problem. You got to look at the type of argument it is. If you look over to the left, I just briefly put the types of induction that I outlined in the book. Predictions, arguments that use statistics, appeals to experts, analogies, and arguments that involve causation. It's a good guide, not a perfect way to tell, but if you don't have anything else, that's what you go with. On the other hand, over here for deduction, arguments that turn on math or they turn on definitions, turn on hypotheticals, which are if claims. They're categorical, which is the unit we're working on now. You'll see words like all, some, and no, and some language variations of those. Elimination is an or kind of idea. Now, the one here, if you take a look at it, this is an argument that ties to statistics, and that is indeed why you should have said induction if you had this problem on the exam. All right, let's go on to the next one here. This one had to say inductive or deductive as well as assess the reasoning. So this is where everything got put together. Now, step by step, again, first let's find what the conclusion is. The word accordingly tells us that our conclusion is all 5 of the new 2012 GM models will likely be ugly. All right, the premise for that is most GM cars are ugly. This is definitely on the inductive side. Inductive. We have all 5 of the new GM models will likely be ugly. Giveaway there for sure that we're on the inductive side. Now, then we ask, is the reasoning correct or not with the standards appropriate to induction? Strong means that the conclusion is greater than 50% based on the premises. Weak means less than or equal to 50%. Probability granted the premise as best we can figure that out. Incidentally, there's really no way to assess strength or weakness in the argument above, and that does happen in the real world. Here we can, though. Most GM cars are ugly. Okay, that means more than half of them are ugly. Does that make it likely that all 5 of the new models are going to be ugly? And the answer is no, it's weak, far less than 50% chance. Let's just say, for example, it's 60%. It's 0.6 that the first one out of the 5 is ugly. So of that 60% of the time that we even have the first one ugly for the second one to be ugly, we would take only 60% of that. If you do the basic math here, that's only 36% of the time that even two cars in the future would be ugly. You go with all five, I mean, we're under 10% at this point. Definitely on the weak side. There is not a 50% chance that the conclusion is going to be true based on the premise. All right. Next one's a little bit interesting, and I did kind of want to sneak this one in for a certain reason. All right. The word so tells us that tomorrow is certainly Sunday is our conclusion. Okay, I'll jot that down briefly. The word certainly here tells us that it's deductive. Then we got to figure out, okay, if the argument is valid, and really that's a 100% chance that the conclusion is true based on the premise, or invalid, and that would be less than 100% chance. Okay, this one's actually valid though. If we take a look, if yesterday was Friday, that makes today Saturday, and that makes, no doubt about it, tomorrow Sunday. This argument is valid. Then, though, we still have to say if it's valid, if it's invalid, that's the end of the story. Whether it's sound or unsound, that is determined by whether or not the premise is true. So here you had to say, is that true that yesterday was Friday? Interestingly, this does depend on what day of the week you took the exam. I was assuming no one was going to take the exam on Saturday, but I think a very small number of you did. So as long as you didn't take the exam on Saturday, any other day, we have a false premise. It's false that yesterday was Friday for you when you took this exam, so you should have said unsound, and then your final answer valid, but unsound. Partly I say this because if you happen to say that the argument was deductive sound and you took the exam on Saturday, I haven't found any cases of that yet, then you actually should have got credit and wouldn't have based on the way the system went. So if that's the case, both you took it on Saturday, and of course I can find this out or I know this, and your answer was that it was deductive sound, let me know.